Hello again, Miss Denton here, and in this video we're going to be working on our second construction in the series, and this construction is a perpendicular line again. Okay, so we're seeing this perpendicular again, which is your 90 degrees, through a point on the line, so a random point. Now our last construction was more specific. Our last construction was a perpendicular, so that's 90 degrees, bisector, which cuts the segment in half. There's no mention of a bisector here, so we're just looking for an end result that's perpendicular, but it has to go through a point on the line. So in this case, the point on the line is point P. All right, so let's get started. I've got my tools ready to go. The goal is to draw a line that's perpendicular to line K, and it goes through point P. First, place the compass on point P. Excuse me, I keep moving that piece of paper. Place the compass on point P using any radius. Okay, switch the compass around. Using any radius, and draw arcs that intersect the line K at 2 points. So by starting here, and intersect, spin it over here, intersect, I've created line segment AB. Now there's a line segment AB in this picture, and now this is pretty much just going to be a repeat of what we just did. Let me put this back on the screen from our last construction. We started with line segment AB, and then perform the construction for the perpendicular bisector. Over here, this line goes on forever and ever and ever, so we needed some end points to perform the construction on. So that was our first step. We created end points. So we know what we're going to work with. Okay, now you're going to recognize the rest of these steps. It says place the compass at point A, adjust the radius so it's more than half the length from A to B, so you got to open it up just a little, and then draw the arcs. So there's arc number 1. You can do the exact same thing where you draw arc number 1 up top and draw another arc down below. Keeping the same radius, place the compass at point B and draw another arc so that it intersects. There's point X. And then just use your ruler or your straight edge to connect P and X. Your end result is perpendicular. It is a bisector of AB. But that was never one of the goals. It just needs to be perpendicular, so that 90-degree angle, and passes through the point on the line. All right, so let's get some practice. Come on down. Directions say draw a line that's perpendicular through the given line, and it goes through the point, goes through point R. If I just start like the previous construction and I just start by opening my compass and making my top and bottom arc, this line is going to end up in the middle, and it's not going to go through point R. So first things first, you have to create some end points. So you can pick any size for your compass. I'm going to make sure mine fits on this line. And you just want to make 2 arcs across the line that will become the end points of the rest of our construction. I'm going to call those points A and B. Now I can complete the construction that I'm already familiar with. I need to open my compass up wide enough so that when I create 2 arcs, one coming from A and one coming from B, it'll intersect. So let's see. Arc up top. Now I know this set of directions says I don't have to have one on bottom, but it's just less for me to memorize if I do the same thing over and over. So I didn't change my compass setting, and I'm creating these intersections To be consistent with the notes, I'm going to call this intersection X and this intersection Y. And when I connect X to Y, my line will pass right through R, and it'll be a 90-degree angle. If I skipped that very first step of creating A and B, then this whole thing would be off center somewhere. Okay, try it again over here. Get one more visual. First things first, I have to create some endpoints. So I'm going to make sure it fits on my page. This endpoint number 1, exact same radius setting. Endpoint number 2. Okay, so I'll call that A and B again. A and B. You'll notice R is right in the middle of A and B. Now, open up the compass a little wider so that you can make your intersections from each point, and they should meet each other. Okay. Ooh, I just barely made that one down here. And we call these intersections X and Y. If you connect X to Y, it should work out that the line you're drawing travels right through point R and is perpendicular. Some questions, especially on your SOL test, want you to do the construction, but of course they can't grade the construction, so they grade, it might be a multiple choice out here, where there are several points out here, and whichever point your line goes through is the choice that you would pick out of the multiple choice options. Another way that they test this on the SOL is they will build the construction and ask you, what did we build? Or they might even ask you, if I'm building a perpendicular through point L, what would my first step look like? So they want you to recognize these steps. In order to do that, you've really got to pay attention to the angle of the arcs. Okay, so here, this arc at A is facing point P. This arc at B is facing point P, so you know that these two arcs came from point P. So there's little details like that to pay attention to as well. Okay, so this was our second construction. If you need any help, come find me. I'll be happy to help.